Jimbordodan Ningmijang, Donum Jimborga Gada. Agurdargon Zando Germerdo, Dunda de Jala Gijanzar. Miba Simjin Tamjerapta Tarusha and Picture Trusha. Come, Shunigum. Come in. Semchin Tamchelar, Numbro Nebrandope, Semchin Tamcherapta Tarushavi, Shiro Nebro Shao. Semchin Tamchelar, Numbro Nebrandope, Dope, Gala Nebro Sha, Meba, Semchin Tamchelar, Numbro Nebrandope, Semchin Tamcherapta Tarur, Shayu Shirdo Nebro Shao, Meba, Semchin Tamcherapta Tarusha and Dope Chertrsha, Meba, Semchin Tamcherapta Tarusha and Dope, Nyomomba, Le, Rapta Tarushao. Meba Nyomon are dope chester raptor generusha. Meba Nyomon are dope surgeon the raptor jerusha. Meba chertawa raptor jergina, surgeon the raptor jura yinda. Meba Kia mepatan, Gaba mepa la raptor jurana, surgeon the raptor jura yino. Meba Merkit Mungo, Chimungo, Meba Mugeva nam Merkit, Geva nam Mungoko. Geva nam Mungoko, Meba, Geva nam Mugivir Zava Kanlo, Meba, Jigtsuk Nurzawago, Meba, Jigtsuk Gizawa Kanlo, Meba, Jigtsuk Gizawa non Dobadan Chabago, Meba, Dobadan Chabizawa Kan, Meba, Dobadan Chabizawa, Kan Mayimba Kunder Tobago, Meba, Yantaba Mayimba Kunder Toberzawa Kanlo, Meba, Yantaba Mayimba Kunder Toberzawa, Shinjulukun the Shizo. Meba Shinjalukun the Shikisawa Kanlo, Meba Shinjalukun the Shikisawana, Tin Mepa War, Meba Tin Mepisawa Kanjena, Meba Jagor Kan, Tin Mepa Ti Savar Kera Chishyote, Tirtar Chutamchit Tin Mepisawa La Neba War, Dene Kim De Na Nepi, Hamo Di, Shanchu Senhua. Shanchu Senhua Chimbo Teta Chutam Banda Tuni, Gam Ye. Rang de Rangali Ragbatan, he made up Shanchu Sanhua, Chimbo Tedagdan, Yantu Chimbo Tedagla, Mumber Turti. Toradan Shanchu Sanhua Namji Lila Metok, Kantak Vapatetak Salalhungo. Yantu Chimbo Namji Lila Metok, Kantak Vapatetak, Tinit, Cherne Sala Malhungo, Sala Malhungo, Teni Yantu Chimbo Tetak, Zamchirji, Chumchirji Metok Tetak, Chikyam Malhungo. Teni lamo te da katsedan damba shari wala ndirkichi meso teni lamo ti tsedan damba shari wala ndirkichi meso zimba shari wa metung dadag te chivsha meba lamo metung dadag na rungwa mayin bena dag metung dadag ndoro lamur meba zimba shari wa derkid marmaji te chivshir jena Metok Tetagna Marunga Mayano, Rungayano, Metok Tetagna Rungayano, Chief Shirjin undertate, Metok Tetagna, Mastokte, number Mastobate, and it is Sherry when you Stokchan, number Toko. Samba Sherry with Tetag Lagbrok, Somber, Chun, Derva Raptor, Shone, Chus Toba, number Toba Tetagna, Runga Mayan Bago. A Nerton, Stokjan, number Tobate, Kantak Mastobate, Rungao. Zimba, Sharif, and the star, Toba, number Toba, Pangvi, Sheriff, Shansu Sanhua, Sanhua Chimbo, Dataka, Lila, Metok, Machak Bala, two. Dertate, Quernan, Jibi, Ramjin, Changi, Mulala, Mumayim Barnam, Gigalak of Neto. Devjin, Corbin, Jigbe, Stakbar Namna, Zigdan, Jadan, Chidon, Rodan, Rakshir, like Nepran, Gero. Gandang the Chitamchi, Yomon, Ben Jigbadan, Jarate, Zigdan, Jadan. zhidang, zhodang, rakshi chijikshir yote, gangdak vakchik marpangwa tetagla metuk kijang chigji, gangdak vakchik pangwa tetagla lila metuk machakte, tewena vakchik tamchir pangwa namji lila metuk machak so.
Let's now continue with the Vimalakirti Sutra. Well, I think we have 3 classes left other than this class. I hope all of you will continue to be attentive during this class, during this last few classes in this year. And hopefully next year will continue if nothing else happens. So this week we'll finish today, and then next week we'll have Monday and Tuesday classes, and then the Monday class after that class, which will mark the end of this year's lessons. Generally, I think everyone's being very attentive and very focused during class. Although, I think in terms of the number of audience, at the beginning we had a few more. In fact, I think 1/3 of people left the class, or they've probably interrupted their transmission or classes, maybe because of their busy schedule, and sometimes maybe because they don't have enough faith and devotion towards the Dharma. But in general, I think this is one of the most audience who are attending the classes on Vimalakirti Sutra, even in the history of the teaching of such sutra. There are people who give up because of their personal obstacles and other things, but I think majority of you have and are going to finish all the 3 classes that's left in this year. Also, I think during listening to such teachings, of course, I'm not trying to say this because of I have such agenda, or I'm trying to make you feel happy about yourself. But I myself actually feel that even after each class, I feel quite happy and rejoice myself for doing such. Why is that? It's because during such an age, such a time, everything's so turbulent and chaotic. For those of you who read news and know this world, in fact, there are so many people who are starving and are in poverty or in war zone. Millions of people are in such a situation where they don't have any freedom to listen to the Dharma at all. Even there are millions of people who live in countries and regions where they have endless wars, where they really don't have any opportunity to listen to the Dharma or any freedom and time to listen to the Dharma. In other regions where there are no war, no apparent war, but there are conflicts, political conflicts or economic or religious and philosophical conflicts where they have no freedom because they're under such reign of religious control or so. And although if even if you live in a place where it's rather peaceful and have such peace, but maybe in your own family you're suffering from lawsuits and divorce and family conflicts and such, just as Sarah Condro's autobiography, where she states that she actually had divorce lawsuits in a court with Gara, who is her husband. The translations are a little bit different. In the English version, where it is stated that she had to pay her husband 12 silver coins. But in the Tibetan versions, it says that because Sarah Condro's son, although he is considered as a child without a father, but Gara was taking care of him. Therefore, Gara should pay Sarah Condro 14 silver coins, and the other. And Sarah Condro in turn to pay Gara about 14 silvers, and Gara should pay her 12 silvers. In one of the nationality publications from Beijing, it states that 1 silver coin at that time equals to about 5 RMB at that time. Until this time, it's probably about 300 to 400 RMB or so. People who get ordained, maybe slowly they will. So people who are not ordained, they may encounter into problems as such, and people who are ordained, maybe they would encounter problems because of their past residue of the karma and so on, and they will have more obstacles that way personally. Anyhow, my point is that it's really not easy to listen to the class to complete the entire course. It's really not easy. And compared to the time of Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche, if you look at the stories that happened during Jigme Phuntsok's time, you would know that during his time, he actually, it was really difficult for people, for even a few dozens of people to finish the whole complete teaching of the course of One Sutra or Shastra. Another thing I would like to address is that masters who graduated and went out to teach Dharma outside of the monastery, if you have not destroyed the 3 Tripitakas, the precepts, meditation, and wisdom, then during your listening of this class, I know many of you are doing really well outside. I think we should turn obstacle situations into favorable conditions to ourselves. Doesn't matter in terms of your aspiration of helping others, of propagating Dharma, or in terms of your own studies. I think we should all try our best. I've encouraged everyone not to think that Laronggar is your home, because this is very temporary. Do not consider Laronggar as your homeland, because after finish learning the Dharma, you should go out and you should go to different places and propagate Dharma, because even if you can plant the virtuous seeds to people, even to a few people, that's valuable. There are students who went to Nalanda University to study the Dharma, and at that time they didn't consider Nalanda as their university. university. Of course, I'm not asking you to become Master Xuanzang or Master Fa Xian, but I think once you've studied the Dharma, even if you receive some teaching from the Dharma, you should spread it to your relatives, to your friends, and so on. This is the value of the Dharma. This is the value of your study. I think lots of the biographies and autobiographies of past masters, even if you are lay practitioners, you should learn from them. In the past, we would consider the monastics are have a higher hierarchy in this group. But after studying Vimalakirti Sutra, we know that lots of the lay practitioners are enlightened, are realized, and they have such great capacity. So I think we should learn, just like Vimalakirti himself, although we cannot be exactly like Vimalakirti, who's already an enlightened being. But let's look at him. Lots of those Shravakas can't even compete to him. The Arhats cannot compete to him. Then Manjushri was conversing with Vimalakirti, and then later we will include the goddess who's going to converse with Vimalakirti as well. Sometimes because of their conversation, we can't even figure out whether if Manjushri, the Bodhisattva, has a higher realization or Vimalakirti does. My point is that, in fact, your status, let it be lay practitioner or monastic, it's really not the most important. Maybe for you, monastics, although you wear the robes, but you don't really keep the pure precepts, then it's not really valuable. For lay practitioners, they have different conducts that they could do, but monastics can't. Still limited. Anyhow, we'll continue. Yesterday we talked about how Manjushri has such conversation with Manjushri has conversation with Vimalakirti, and then Manjushri was asking questions as a beginner bodhisattva to Vimalakirti. We finished 2 questions already yesterday, and then we'll continue the next 10. First of all, Manjushri asked, as bodhisattvas, how could bodhisattvas face their birth and death? And then Vimalakirti said that the bodhisattva should rely on the power of Tathagata's merit. The commentaries from different masters are different in terms of this part, and mostly because yesterday what we talked about is from the aspect of compassion, and today we're going to talk about this from the aspect of compassion. Yesterday we talked about it from the sympathy aspect, and today is from compassion and the next 3 aspects. So, if one wishes to save sentient beings, what should be eradicated? That's Manjushri's question. How could we eradicate? What should one eradicate in order to save the sentient beings? What should we eliminate in order to save and liberate the sentient beings? That's the question. And then Vimalakirti's answer is that if you wish to save and liberate the sentient beings, then you should eradicate the afflictions, because there's no other way other than eradicate the afflictions. When we try to save the sentient beings, we often think that maybe teaching the Dharma is a way to save sentient beings, and other rituals and so on are those to be considered as saving sentient beings. On one hand, it is considered as liberating sentient beings, but on the other hand, it is based on whether if you can eradicate the sentient beings' afflictions, because if you could do so, then that's called liberating sentient sentient beings. Because in the earlier we talked about how liberating sentient beings is the most important responsibility for all Mahayana practitioners. The only thing you should remember is that you should benefit sentient beings. That's the responsibility you should remember and keep it in your heart at all times. In the 4 great vows that we often chant, it says that the 4 great vows are the sentient beings are limitless, and we vow to save them all. The afflictions are limitless, and we vow to eradicate them all. So yesterday we've already talked about vow to save them yesterday, and today we're going to talk, in fact this part talks about afflictions are limitless and we vow to eradicate them all. And then the teachings are inexhaustible and we vow to learn it all. This is the most important. We should learn the limitless Dharma, the limitless teachings of the Buddha Dharma. And then at the end, we vow to attain the enlightenment of Buddhahood that is unsurpassable. We should, after we attain the Buddhahood, and we'll be able to also save the limitless sentient beings, liberate the sentient beings. In order to do that, we should then study the limitless texts, and then on top of that, we should practice those teachings on our own. Because in the Buddhism system, we talk about listening, studying, studying or contemplation and practicing. So you have to practice it yourself. Otherwise, you can't really use it on yourself at all. Otherwise, chanting, circumambulating, and prostrating, those are considered as merits. Those are extremely important meritorious actions. But in order to eradicate the afflictions, we need to give rise to the view of emptiness after studying the Dharma. Then, with such a view of emptiness, we'll be able to analyze the nature of afflictions, and then through choosing or analyzing, let it be esoteric or exoteric, esoteric as in look at the nature of afflictions, and then you'll be able to eradicate the afflictions, and those are extremely important. So the 4th question then Vimalakirti, then Manjushri asks, saying that if one wishes to eradicate the afflictions, what should one practice then? And then Vimalakirti answers that if you wish to eradicate the afflictions, then you should practice right mindfulness. To abide in right mindfulness or practice right mindfulness, in fact, the right mindfulness over here in Tibetan and in Chinese translation, it is a little bit different. The Kumara Jiva's translation over here means that you do not forget. In fact, you remember at all times to remember all the right actions, to remember the right things to do. For example, if you should always remember that you are a Mahayana practitioner, and then you shouldn't be angry at others. You shouldn't lash out your anger in front of others, and so on. This is the right mindfulness as a Mahayana practitioner. As stated in Ashvaghosha's Acts of the Buddha, it states that holding correct mindfulness in mind, no evil is possible to invade, which means that once you have the right mindfulness, then all those afflictions, all those 3 poisons, they have actually no space to enter and disturb you at all. So we should have such awareness. This is quite important. understand. In Chan or Zen Buddhism, they often talk about awareness, as they say that do not be afraid of how thoughts arise in you, but be afraid of the late awareness of such. So, once you are aware, then there are many ways to eradicate such afflictions or thoughts or unreasonable thoughts. As stated by Shantideva, he said that he folds his hands together and sincerely supplicate that everyone should hold right mindfulness in their heart at all times. And once you have such right mindfulness, then you'll be able to eradicate all the afflictions and thoughts that arise in you. And then Manjushri continued to ask, then how can you practice correct mindfulness then? Then Vimalakirti answered that then one should practice non-generation and non-extinction. But over here, non-generation and non-extinction over here, it sounds like the no birth and no death that's stated in Madhyamika, in the middle way teaching. Then later on, but this is different because later on you can see Manjushri continue to ask what dharmas are non-generated and what dharmas are non-extinguished. And then over here, the Vimalakirti continued to answer from a very worldly aspect. It says that let the not good actions not to be generated, and the good dharmas and good actions are to be non-extinguished. Let the non-generated good actions to be generated, and let the generated good actions to be increasingly more and strong, and let the wrong actions or bad dharmas that is already arisen to extinguish, and let the wrong or bad dharmas that's not arose, never to be arose. This is the aspect that it talks from, because it talks about to practice all good. So Bodhisattva talks about this from a worldly aspect to teach us that we should practice all good and eradicate all wrong actions. Doesn't matter if you're a monastic or you're a lay practitioner. This is really important to remember, as it is stated by the Buddha in the Sutra, where he said that what Buddhism is to practice all good and eradicates all wrong actions, to purify one's mind, and that is the teaching of all Buddhas.
No.
I had tea stick in my mouth. Well, we talked about not to conduct all wrong actions, but to practice all good actions. In fact, in the Tripitaka, I'm not sure if I talked about it before. In some of the translations where it says that to practice all good and to practice not to practice many wrongs. I'm not quite sure why they translate all and then translate it as many. In fact, it should be practice all goods and do not practice all bad actions. That's the proper translation. It has 3 levels of explanation. The first one is to practice or to eradicate all bad actions. That is the practice of Shravakas. And then all the Bodhisattva's way of practice is to practice all the goods to benefit all sentient beings, and to practice in such a way, to practice all the actions that benefits the sentient beings. That's the Mahayana's way of practice. And then as Vajrayana practice, it talks about to purify one's own mind through different skillful means. That's the Vajrayana way of working on the mind, and that's the teaching of the Buddha. In fact, these 4 stanzas are recorded in Dhammapada Sutra, maybe around the 1 CE. At that time, a translator from India, then he collected all the Buddhists at that time who collected all the teachings of the Buddha, and then the collections of all those teachings are collected together, a collection of Dhammapada. That's around time of, and then around the time of the 2nd century, and then there's another translation where a few of the stories were added to the teachings of Dhammapada. And then, so the 3 of them are a little bit different. The one I translated is the one I just used. Those 4 stanzas I quoted are from this Master Fagio, who was from India at that time. So he, at that time, in fact, he explained it from the 3 levels. But Dhammapada has the teachings of the Shravakas, mainly on the to the Shravakas. Not only these 4 stanzas are, this 4 verses of stanzas are included in Dhammapada. In fact, it's also included in Vinaya Sutra and many more. A few Tibetan couples the other day was saying that, was telling me that these 4 verses are not found in the Tripitaka. I said, no, you can definitely find it, because you can find it in the Parinirvana Sutra and the Dhammapada Sutra. But the Parinirvana Sutra is not translated into Tibetan. In fact, in the ancient time, there was a Pandita who wanted to translate it into Tibetan language, but he didn't do so. So during our learning of the teachings of the origin, we should know the origin of such quotes. And I think it's really important to understand the Mahayana teachings, and even more so, as Buddhists, we should do is that we should learn the original Buddhism teachings as well. As I said, I was reading the Agama Sutra, and during translation and reading such, I actually have abundant harvest of knowledge from that. In the earlier times, I always felt that I'm a Tibetan Buddhism or Mahayana practitioner. Therefore, all these kind of teachings have nothing to do with me. But I changed my mind now because those original teachings, in fact, have lots of values for us to learn. What I'm saying is that do not limit yourself. As I said yesterday, now we're in this age as Buddhists. Let's not make boundaries for ourselves and create a small circle and small comfort zone for ourselves. You only think about you and your guru, and that's all. You don't think of the society or the world. You only consider you and your guru in your comfort zone, and then that's quite lonely. You have quite a lonely circle then. So we should have a bigger perspective and see ourselves as Buddhists first. And then we also should look at other religions. For example, if you were to go to the UK, and even if you meet someone on the train of UK, if you met someone who are someone else who are Buddhists, you definitely become good friends afterwards. I've heard stories like such. But if you were to identify yourself as a student of certain guru, of a certain school and sect, and then if you were to meet some other Buddhists on the train of UK, but they're from a different school, different lineage, and follows a different teacher, then if you identify yourself that way, how can you yourself consider yourself as a Mahayana practitioner? Because as Mahayana practitioners, we consider all sentient beings as our mothers of past times. If you only identify yourself as a practitioner of a Buddhist, but not only a Buddhist, but a Buddhist of certain school, of a certain teacher, because there are so many different schools and so many different lineages and so many different teachers, and then if you continue to count it, they will become smaller than a dust, as considering yourself as someone very specific. And then you would consider the other teachers' disciples as from a different universe, and you don't define yourself as the same category as you, and sometimes even have lots of repulse and lots of rejection towards others, and you can't even stay in the same space with the others who are not from the same teacher. If you only consider the other extreme is that you continue to change different lineages and different schools and different Dharma centers and different Sangha members, Sangha communities and so on. That's another extreme, as you don't identify yourself as anyone. I'm not sure how I distracted myself to be talking about this at this moment.
法王的那个法王在那个好像在中央花园吧，就是那个
Pansar Rinpoche, when he was staying in his central garden residence, a few monks novice monks were playing around over there around his stairs.
对，然后就他的老师就来了。然后他就老师来了，他就害怕了。 我不知道我掉在这个上面。
And his teacher came, and the little novice monk said that, I'm not sure how I got here. He was actually sliding from the stairs railing, and then the novice, once he noticed that his teacher approaches, he was trying to lie, but he couldn't think of anything except saying that I don't know how I got here. Well, my point was that I don't know how I got to here, to talk about the different schools and do not limit yourself and so on. So where are we now? Well, we talked about non-generation and non-extinction. The seventh question is that the no good and good dharma, we talked about that, and then Manjushri continued to ask, what's the basis of those? Then the answer is that body is their fundamental basis. Over here, body over here means the view of body, a view of I, or Sakaya Ditti, or the view of I, view of body, is their fundamental basis. Then Manjushri continued. Then to ask what is the fundamental basis of the body. Then Vimalakirti said that desire and greed is its fundamental basis. Over here, the desire or greed actually has the meaning of ignorance, because all the afflictions' roots are ignorance. But ignorance the ignorance that is connected to the desire is even worse. The reason of us still in this wondering, this samsara, is because of desire, is because of grasping. So the Sakaya Ditti, or the view of body, has actually 64 types of those. But at the bottom of this is the view of I and the view of mind. And then the fundamental basis for those is desire. And that is the root reason for us still wondering samsara. As a practitioner or as someone who longs for liberation, for nirvana, then we should eradicate desire. Otherwise, if we have desire, it's very, very difficult to get liberated. As stated in the Udana Sutra, it says that just like making an error by oneself and end up with it injuring one's own body, the error of craving is likewise. With it, the self and other sentient beings are all damaged and hurted. Not only you harm yourself, and in fact you would harm others with the view of desire or with grasping. Once you are hurt or you are pierced by the arrow of desire, then it is quite suffering for oneself as well as others. For people who don't have much desire and grasping, then they would have a rather peaceful and very delightful life without too much suffering in their life and without too much afflictions. We say that in the Mara's hand, he actually holds the 5 arrows, which are the 5 poisons, the greed, anger, ignorance, doubt, and so on. Those arrows would hurt others. In the Western culture, they also talk about the arrow of Cupid. In the Greek mythology, it is depicted as a child holding an arrow. In fact, the arrow he holds could pierce others' heart, and that's how it's usually depicted. The one arrow with two pierced hearts. I think lots of those mythologies from the West are quite interesting, and lots of those folk stories of the East are also very interesting as well. We shouldn't think of everything as fake or as just a story, as just a made up, because they could also have manifested a body, and they could manifest in different forms. Anyhow, this story over here, the arrow of Cupid, actually, he has two arrows. One arrow with the head of a golden head, and the other one is an arrow with a lead head. The golden one would bring uncontrollable love, and the lead will bring the lost of love or devoid of love. People usually would describe Cupid as someone who's really sweet and who brings love and so on. But many don't really know that he has two arrows. One is the one with gold, and the other one is with lead. Once you are pierced by the arrow of lead, then everything's over. There's no love anymore. Just as a few days ago, Brexit finally was set. It's in many reports it was described that the Great Britain was married to the European Union for 45 years, and then the Brexit is like a divorce of the UK and European Union. So love is not all happy and romantic at all the time, and it's of course not all suffering either, but it is something that is without investigating further. It does bring happess to sentient beings temporarily, but the root of such is actually that we have such desire grasping to this world. And then the 10th question asked, what is the fundamental basis of desire? The 9th question, actually, then the answer from Vimalakirti says that false discrimination is its fundamental basis. Because false discrimination is the root of all dharmas or all phenomena, rather. Because all phenomena doesn't really have good or bad, doesn't have anything to be discriminated. Everything appears as it is. Everything appears, and it doesn't really have high or low, but it is our false discrimination that would bother ourselves. This is all because of our false discriminations. In the Sutra of Great Compassion, it says that who is the living, who is being aging, who is the dead, and who is being reborn, who is flowing between life and death. all of these are illusory and fabricated conceptions and all false discriminations. In fact, all these birth, death, and all those aged, those are all our discriminations, our false discriminations, our illusory concepts. And then Manjushri continued to ask, what is the fundamental basis of false discrimination then? And then he said that confused concepts is its fundamental basis. And then he continued to ask, what is the fundamental of confused conceptions? And then Vimalakirti continued to say that non-abiding is its fundamental basis. Because this confused conceptions are permanence, bliss, or joy, and existent self, and purity. So all of these are non-abiding, doesn't have a true nature. I would encourage you to read Agama Sutra if you want to know more about the permanent self, existent self, happiness, and purity. Because I'm translating this, so I am giving lots of commercials on the Agama Sutra and encourage you to read it. Hopefully next year I'll have some of it translated, and anyhow, I would encourage you to read into it. In the Theravada tradition or the Pali Canon, it in fact explains really well on what is permanence, what is existent self, and happiness, and purity. So it really explains a lot on these confused conceptions and explained it really profoundly. Anyhow, the non-abiding is the fundamental basis of confused conceptions. It appears as so, but it doesn't have anything to be grasped onto as anything. Doesn't have anything in in any of those existent nature. In the introduction to the Middle Way by Chandrakirti, it says that so too all things, though empty, strongly manifest within your very emptiness, and since the inherent nature in neither truth, phenomena are neither nothing nor unchanging entities. I recited this Tibetan version of Introduction to Middle Way back in 1989 before I went to India. So a Khenpo at that time constantly recite this verse. He constantly used this during his debating sessions, and he would quote this verse. At that time, we were all still very young. Then everything is non-abiding, and non-abiding is without any fundamental basis. At that time, then, if everything is empty, but things still manifest in this very emptiness, phenomena will still arise in such emptiness. For people who have never studied the Middle Way or Madhyamika, they don't understand how could things arise from emptiness. It's okay, even if you don't understand now, you will slowly learn and be able to understand this later on. Anyhow, they talked about this part is the conversation between Manjushri and Vimalakirti. Now, in the next part, a goddess appears, so a different scene. At that time, after listening to the conversation of Manjushri and Vimalakirti, then the goddess who resides in Vimalakirti's home appears. In Master Sanjao and other commentaries, they said that this goddess is actually enlightened being and above the 8th Bhumi, so someone really great. At that time, a goddess appeared. goddess from celestial realm. And during our sitting arrangement, maybe the goddess would sit on the female side, and the male celestial beings would sit on the male side, male sections. They would abide also the rules that we made over here. Do they abide the rules? Do you think they would abide rules? No? Oh, so you can see it from your divine eye. That's good. So at that time, the goddess started to scatter the heavenly flowers. The goddess are making offerings in such a way. So all of a sudden, the goddess started appearing in the body, or manifesting a form, and then started to scatter heavenly flowers all over. In Han tradition, in some of those Chan tradition, in fact, there are many stories about scattering heavenly flowers. But when or after she scattered all those heavenly flowers, those petals and flowers, after touching the body and clothing of bodhisattvas and bodhisattvas, then those flowers immediately fell off. But for those great disciples or Shravaka students of the Buddha, then those flowers right away sticked right onto their clothing. At that time, in fact, all the Shravakas are quite nervous. They're very attentive to their appearance, to their clothing, and so on. The bodhisattva's clothing didn't really have any flowers sticked onto or glued onto their flowers. But at that time, all the Shravaka's clothing and all from head to toe are sticked with lots of flowers and petals. And they were trying to get rid of those flowers and remove them. And then Madhgalyayana and Shariputra, they were trying to get rid of those flowers and petals through their miraculous powers, but they couldn't get it off either. A story stated in the Theravada Sutra, where it stated that there was a novice bhikshu. There was a bhikshu who naturally has a flower on the side of his ear, and once he removed it, the flower would naturally appear again. There was a story behind it, why the flower behind his ear would continue to grow. In fact, he was apparently in his past life, he was a person who was an alcoholic. He was drunk, and at that time, by chance, he was wearing a flower on the side of his ear, and then a Tathagata at that time, at his time, was giving teachings, and hearing those teachings, he was really happy, and he offered that flower to the Tathagata, and in his later lives, he would naturally, a flower would naturally appear around his ear. So that's why he had flower over there. So I'll stop here. Anyway, those Shravakas couldn't get rid of those flowers on their body and their clothing. And then the goddess said to Shariputra, so the goddess is on the team of Vimalakirti, and then asked Shariputra, saying that, why would you remove the flowers? The Shariputra started answering, saying that these flowers are not appropriate to Shravakas. As a bhikshu, I shouldn't wearing all these flowers. This is not appropriate for us to wear. I think this is really not. This is not this. This may be a little bit different now. Just as when I went to Thailand, And those Theravada monks, they are usually very proper. They wouldn't get close to female practitioners at all, or any women. But when it comes to the flower garlands, they would accept it without too much hesitation. So maybe it's different. In fact, flowers are symbols. It's a symbol of enlightenment, just as picking up a flower and smiling to the Buddha. That's the famous Zen story of getting a sign of enlightenment. Another sign or another symbol of flowers actually symbolizes how it beautifies, how it also purifies because of its fragrance. It beautifies your shrine just as you offer flowers on your shrine. Another symbol of flowers another symbol of flower is that it is a symbol of fruition, of attaining enlightenment. Because once you have flower, you definitely have fruit. It's a sign of having fruit. So in the story of Prince Yiqing, when we were when we read those stories, and then we also make such aspiration of offering flowers and so on. Those are the auspicious origination that you should make. You should make offerings so that to wish for it would come to fruition. Let's look at how there are people who make offering to make flower offering to the stupa would also receive, or also their karma would come to fruition in such a way that they will have beautiful ornaments in their lifetimes to come. So I think making offering to the Buddha statue, to the stupa, and then to the scriptures, those are really important to make offerings to those. It generates lots of merits. Then the goddess said that do not say that these flowers are contrary to the Dharma or inappropriate for you. Why is that? Because these flowers are without discrimination. Because Shariputra, it is you who are generating discriminative thoughts. How could you say the flowers are not good? The flower doesn't have anything to discriminate itself, but you are having discriminations yourself. The flower doesn't discriminate if it's good or bad, but you are making such discriminations. So she's giving teachings from a Mahayana angle. I think at that time Shariputra must be really quite bashful and quite embarrassed. The bodhisattvas, however, they don't have any flowers sticks to them. It's because they don't have any of those dualistic thoughts, and they don't have false discriminations. But I think you shouldn't use such words to judge others. You shouldn't use such excuses to judge others, because maybe you haven't really got there yet. And that's why the Buddha taught in a systematic way. And therefore, I think we should pay attention and be very careful in such a manner. And then he continued to say, in fact, the goddess gave an example, saying that if one has particular fear, then all of those non-human would actually come to harm them. If a person is afraid, then those non-human beings are going to harm them or control them. For people who often have fear, have anxiety, have depression, then with such false discrimination, such dualistic thoughts, then it will attract those unfortunate things. As in our our folk culture, people usually say that the more you fear, the more you will lose, or the more you fear, the more it will come to you.
这个还是有感受的，就经常想啊，会不会上升的失去，就有一些还是有很多的那种，然后你就
I often felt that am I going to get sick? Am I going to get ill? Then if you have such grasping towards your body, then you will. If you're afraid of dogs, you would be afraid. You may be afraid of dogs, and you may be thinking that I hope I don't get bitten by a dog, and maybe you will on the way.
所以这个时候呢，也有这样的，就是所以好像那个深沼大师还是在那个
According to Master Sun Zhao, in the commentary of Vimalakirti Sutra, he said he gave a story of how a raksha, which is a demoness spirit or a form that transformed himself into a horse. And at that time, he then asked the person saying that, a person who's coming, and then asked, what do you think of a horse like me? And then that person saying that, well, holding a knife, saying that, what do you think of my knife? And then this Raksha realized that this person has an upright mind and he has no fear in his mind, and therefore he did not harm him at all. The more you fear to lose, the more likely you'll lose it. I think in terms of health, as myself, in terms of health, in fact, I don't have good health, physical health. I've always had bad health. I do take medicines whenever I need to, but I don't pay too much attention to it. If I die, I die. I don't have too much grasping towards my body. I don't have too much. I don't pay too much attention to my physical body. And if you don't have too much fear towards it, then in fact, it won't harm you. So when people are having fear, then the more obstacles will come on your way. So, since all these Shravakas fear samsara, then the form, sound, smell, taste, and the tangible forms will control you. When the beautiful smells and tastes and forms and sounds appear and tangibles appear, then it will create lots of obstacles. Just as some monastic parents who some monastics who don't have lots of fear to give up on the path, they never really thought in that way. They're more likely to continue. And for people who fear obstacles and who constantly think, I really don't want to give up my path, I'm so afraid of obstacles, and then it's more likely to be interrupted on your path. Sometimes I think being very forceful is not really helpful, but if we can relax a bit, but we should use right mindfulness to keep our principles, to keep our bottom lines, I think that's very good, because if we were to stop everyone's dualistic thoughts and to force everyone to stop their false discriminations, then people sometimes they actually would encounter more obstacles just because they have a force that would fight them back. When you do fear the samsara, when you do fear of be unsuccessful. Just as there are people actually kept on telling me that, well, you have so many disciples, you should prepare yourself for the downfall or making mistakes, and you should be prepared for such things. In fact, nowadays, many people kept on saying that it's quite important to be prepared for the failure. Maybe 10 years ago, people kept on telling me that I should have a team to face failures or to face obstacles that comes on the way. But I think nowadays lots of celebrities and there are many things happening in the world. Even if there are negative informations and rumors about them, yes, it may
那么在这里呢，就是说这个，如果你
stir up
愿意了
something at a moment and later on will disappear.
对你制
So
造
it's really nothing.
为愿就是那个佛所的那个三教方便经呢，大乘三教方便经呢，里面呢就是说是这个菩萨摩诃
The
萨呢
Sutra
就是以
of
无尽
skillful
中习
means,
气，
he actually says that
色身相位处吧，就是在菩萨摩诃萨呢，
in
在
the,
五
in
个
the,
这个经当
the
中的话呢，你
bodhisattvas
随意这
in
个
the
习气，但是呢不坏
five
正心，不会坏坏你的这个
five
行为，
realms
就
or
是因为
five
菩萨摩诃萨是他知道了这个世
objects
间的真相
or， in
所以呢就是在这个色
while
身相位当中的
they're
话呢，
experiencing
你
the
怎么样这
form,
个习
sounds,
气，实际
smell,
上
taste,
也是
then
不
the
坏的，就是他的
bodhisattvas
这个正心啊。
who don't have
那么
any discriminations,
节气呢，如果没有
they
短像那个
can
声闻缘觉一
gain or
样，
play
就是细微
with
的
all
这种
these.
习气啊，就是虽然烦恼障已经断了，但是烦恼障的这个习气啊，
For,
就是这
but for
些的话呢，
those
就是没有断的
Shravakas
话呢，刚才这
who,
个话呢，
although
就是
have
做到
already
这个
eradicated
身
their
上就一
afflictions,
直
but
掉不
they
下
still
去，
have
就是
latent
这样的。
influence or
如果像菩萨
have
一样的，就是
habitual
节气已
patterns
经
that
断
is
了，
still the
菩萨呢
residue
已经证悟
in
这个法
their
悟，
mind.
不仅是人悟，还有法悟。
But for
法悟证
bodhisattvas,
悟
not
的话呢，
only
那
they've
就是除了
realized
极细微的这个习气以
the
外的，一般
non-self,
粗大
but
的
they've
这个
already
贪着的
also
这些习
realized
气呢
that
都已
the
经断了，
emptiness of
最细
Dharma,
微的还没有
they've
断，等获的时候才
eradicated
断除。
all the
那这种菩萨的话呢，就是
they've
他的
already
这个身上呢，
eradicated
就是不
their
会这个作化，就是这
habitual
个话呢，就
patterns.
是
Of
不会
course,
作
there
的。
are still
所以
residues of
菩萨呢
subtle
就是一
habitual
般是
patterns
比
or
较
latent
这个心为
influence
自
of
自
their
在
past
的，就是确
past
实在
habitual
烦恼方
patterns,
面呢，就是
because
贪狼
that's
这个
that
掉
would be
道路。
eradicated
而
only at
声
the
闻
time
的
of
话呢，
Buddhahood.
当然在这里呢，就是声闻呢，就是有时候可
Therefore,
能
the
在这个行为
bodhisattvas
上
could
啊，就是
turn
跟
all
这个菩萨
those
有点不同的，就是因为证
form,
悟人我
sounds, and smell,
这个
and
没有证悟
turn
这样的一个
those
差别吧。
onto the path
这样
of
的话呢，
practice. But the Shravakas, because they still
这里
have
面呢就是也说
influence
明
or
了
still
一个什
have
么呢？就是我们
habitual
当然
patterns,
是
and
这个
therefore
行
they
为呢，就
cannot
是尽量的这个学习
they
声闻
cannot
乘的是很好
play
的，
in
但是呢，
all
就
of
是也不
these
能特别的，就是在别
aspects
人面
yet.
前就是一种这个一种乍现为义吧。我们所知这个
But
五种性命
I
当中一种乍现为义，就是一
think
直
we
在别
should
人
not
面前就是
pretend
或者的
either.
话呢，就是一点就是
Because
放松感
in
都没有，就是
pretense,
所以
if
不
you
管是
live in
出家人也
pretense,
好，居士也好，
then
大
you
家都
don't
是稍
really
微
have
那
a
个就是放
relaxed
松一点
life.
的，然后跟出了就我们现在。第一步跨的是什么？就是跟那个诸位的人呢，就是要关
The
系
first
好一点。
thing
像我们
of
不说什么
our
开什么戒律啊，
practice
就是这
is
些都
to
我们不
get
是我们
along
的
well
境
with
界，不是
everyone
开
else.
这是不是我们的这
Let's
个
not talk
范
about
围，
our
不是我
inner
们的心理。
realizations
但是至
and
少
so
的话
on.
呢，我们这
But
个佛
we
教
should
徒内部
at
呢，
least
大家要
within
让
our
这个
Buddhist community,
断除一些隔阂，
everyone
就是大家
should
可以
break
很放松
through
的，不用
our
特别的这
boundaries.
种这个拒受的，就不是这样的。
Let's not
然后我们这个佛教徒以外的，就是
pretend
对
or
所有
put
的
on
众生
mask.
像这个大乘佛教里面，我要度天下
Let's be
无边的话
natural.，
可能稍微有点大了。但是呢
I think
至少
if
也
we
是
constantly
其
say
实
that
我们佛
I'm
教
going
真的
to
跟那个其他宗教，
I'm
我
going
今
to
天跟
liberate
其他
all
宗教接触是
sentient
什么？
beings.
就觉得是我们佛
Maybe
教徒
it's a
应该
little bit
可以跟这个很多宗教都完全
vague.
是可以团结的，因为我们
But
的
if we
观点
were
是每
to
一
get
个众
along
生都
with
有佛性嘛，
everyone,
对不
even
对？
if we
每一个
get
众生
along
都是
with
将来的
all
佛者，只不过是暂时
the
呢
practitioners
就扮演的
from
角色不同而
different
已。有些是
religions,
在基
I
督
think
教
is
当
quite
中，有些是
important.
在那个伊斯兰教当中，
Why
有些是
would it,
它没有
why
任
would
何
I
宗
say
教
that?
的，
Because
但
all
是我们
sentient
承
beings
认，就
have
是
the
全部
Buddha
是跟我
nature.
们的这
Doesn't
个
matter if they're
就是
Christians.
队伍吧，就是这
Doesn't
样的
matter
话
if
呢，
they're
就
from
不像跟
different
其他一
religions,
样，什
different
么
countries,
异教
they
徒
still
的
have
话呢，
Buddha
我要
nature.
就是如果不
Let's
配合
not
的话，我要杀绝啊，就是
Let's
就杀
not
掉啊，就是
be
这种
too
是在那
extremist
个
and
其
saying
他的
that
一些
this person
部
is
宗教
not
当
from
中
my
是有
own
的，现在
religion,
可能
therefore I
稍微
should
好一点，
I
但是
should
现在
kill
也
that
宗教的
person.
冲突是很厉害的，
Maybe in
所以
ancient
我
religions
们
it
呢，就
happened
是
like
希
that,
望
but
就是这个佛教徒呢，
Now,
就是行为呢，就是尽量的这个
in
如理
our
如
own
法，
actions,
尤其是
in
自
the
己的心
Buddhist
呢，应该有一种包容
practitioners'
性质，
actions
这样的话呢，自己也获
and
得
mind, we should be more
快乐
inclusive
啊，否则
so
的话呢
that，you
好像
can be
自己
happy.
把自己就今天我这样的，我觉得这样的很好的，全部都是自己的分别
Otherwise,
念的原因。不是我
you
这样
are
的话，今
really
天我
imprisoning
们几
yourself.
嗯
I think I
内
did a
容
really
很好
good
我这样的
job
很不好，
in
就是
teaching.
我自己都不满意。
Rather,
但是呢，
the
确实
content
这
of
些内
today
容
is
的话
really
呢，就是
good.
我们
Maybe I
还是
didn't
很
teach
有
it
质
well.
的这个学习啊，就是
But
我
the
们这个人活在这个世界上，其实生命是很短
Teaching
暂的。
is
对吧
quite
在这个
precious.
时候呢，我们尽
During
量
our
不要让
very
很多
short
这个
human
这个
life,
信啊，因此
let's
这个方文
try
律法
our
因此
best
最
not
给
to
我们
disturb
留下来
others'
的
mind.
这个教言的话呢，就
And we
是
should keep
有莫
this
舍己
in
的
our
无扰他
heart,
心。
the
我们
teaching
每
of
天的
Jimmy
尽
Ponce
量不扰
Rinpoche,
乱别人
where
的
he
事的话，
said
这就
that
是弘扬佛
let's
法。尽量的
stay
就是
on
不
our
舍弃
own
自己的
path.
这种
Let's
信仰。
not
我
let
是佛教徒的
go
话，
of
佛教
our
徒的
own path
信
and
仰
not
我的
let
这个所有的
not
言行
disturb
举止
other
我尽
people's
量
mind.
如果我有一些
So
违
as
反的
Buddhist
话呢，那我要
practitioners,
去这个
let's
忏悔，就是这也是一个很好的方
try
法
our
吧。
best to
今天
abide
就
in
这样
our
的
own rule and not disturb others.